Hey guys, so I've been away, obviously, but I have also been doing quite a bit. I've just had my show week, which is it was pretty cool, very intense, but not so intense it wasn't like manageable. Basically, what we did is a dance show. It's a big festival, like they have drama, dance, and music, and that was pretty cool to be honest. It was one of our first ones, but I think it went okay. So today, obviously, I'm going to talk to you about borderline personality disorder, which I feel isn't a well-known disorder, as such as like depression or anxiety, or such as eating disorders, which I have discussed, I think, somewhere in the past. The reason I'm doing this is because recently, about a month or so ago, I was actually diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and I'm going to go more in depth about that later. So I think we should just get on with it, because otherwise we're going to be here for like ever. Anyway, I'm going to be reading off my phone because I don't really know much about it. I know some stuff, but I'd rather get it right. So if I look down quite a lot, you know why. Okay. So we're going to start off with what borderline personality disorder is, and it is a pattern of feelings and behaviours that seem appropriate or justified by the person experiencing them, even though these feelings and behaviours can cause a deal of problems in that person's life. Borderline personality disorder is a personality disorder that typically includes the following symptoms: inappropriate extreme emotional reactions, which is basically you can switch emotions so fast. You could probably be like really happy for a few minutes, and then the next thing you know, you're suicidal. You know, it's known as one of the most dangerous ones. Not that I'm boasting. I'm not gonna boast, but it's a pretty serious mental disorder. Obviously, all disorders are, but anyway. Another symptom is highly impulsive behaviours, such as spending money, having unsafe sex, or drug and alcohol abuse. And a history of unstable relationships, which is actually something I can not rely. I can actually relate. That's the R. Relate to, because previously I lost a bunch of friends that meant so much to me, but that was because of how I was. And back then I thought, nah, you're wrong. But now looking back at it, it actually makes a lot of sense. A plus. So yeah, there are three clusters of BPD, and each of them have their own symptoms, obviously. I am cluster B, but we will talk about this in a second. So, cluster A is odd and eccentric, which is basically three groups, which are paranoia, schizoid, and schizotypal. I think that's what it's called. So, paranoia is obviously, they're going to be suspicious, or they feel that other people are being nasty to them, even if there's no evidence. They feel easily rejected and often hold grudges. Schizoid is they can be emotionally cold, don't like contact with other people, and prefer their own company. And they also have a rich fantasy, which is, just like, how do you put this? I'll explain later if I can. I know what it is. Just don't know what it is, if you get me. And there's schizotypal, I think, which is eccentric behaviour, odd ideas, difficulties with thinking, lack of emotion, or inappropriate emotional reactions. They see or hear strange things, and it's sometimes related to schizophrenia. Mental illness. Cluster B, which is me. We can be antisocial, dissocial, which is they don't care much about feelings of others, although I care very deeply. There's like certain levels to cluster B. They easily get frustrated, which I do. Tend to be aggressive, which I'm not. They commit crimes. find it difficult to make close relationships. They're impulsive, which is like doing things in spur of the moment without thinking about them. They don't feel guilty about things they've done, and they don't learn from unpleasant experiences. Now, I don't fit into antisocial or dissocial, but I fit into the next one, which is borderline or emotionally unstable, which is my actual diagnosis. Impulsive, find it hard to control emotions, feel bad about themselves, often self-harm, which is specifically cutting or making suicide attempts. They feel empty, make relationships quickly but easily lose them, can feel paranoid or depressed, or when stressed may hear noises or voices, which is actually very true. And it's actually a really scary thing to feel. So, yeah. This one's actually quite a big cluster, but there's only two more, which is histrionic, which is over-dramatized events. They're self-centered, have strong emotions which change quickly and don't last long, can be suggestible, worry a lot about their appearance, crave new things and excitement. They can be seductive. Oh, that's weird. But yeah, they can be. There's narcissistic as well, which is have a strong sense of their own self-importance, dream of ultimate success, power and intellectual brilliance, crave attention from other people but show few warm feelings in return, take advantage of other people and ask for favours that you do not then return. That sounds like a Dr. Seuss. And if I do this a lot, it's because the wire in my brain keeps going onto my cheek and out. You know the pain. And the last one, which is anxious and fearful, which is first bit is obsessive compulsive. They worry and doubt a lot. They're perfectionists, rigid in what they do. They stick to routines. Cautious, preoccupied with detail. Worry about doing the wrong thing. Find it hard to adapt to new situations. Often have high moral standards. Judgmental, sensitive to criticism. Can have essential thoughts and images. Although these are not as bad as OCD. That's a proper pain. I wish my orthodontist would have been better. The third bit is avoidant, which they can be very anxious and tense, worry a lot, feel insecure and inferior, have to be liked and accepted, extremely sensitive to criticism. And the last one is dependent. They can be passive, rely on others to make decisions for them, do what other people want you to do, find it hard to cope with daily chores, feel hopeless and incompetent, and easily feel abandoned by others. So in each of these, I fit into all of them in a sense, but more so cluster B. Now, in a bit, I'm going to go into a bit of statistics. I'm going to try and make this video as short as possible because I can't trim or anything on here because I haven't got an actual camera yet. But we're going to go on to triggers, which is using a lot of drugs or alcohol. And I used to do quite a bit of alcohol, which is where I'd have my worst episodes. You can have problems getting on with your family or partner, which I used to. Money problems, such as, because you'd spend a lot if you were impulsive. Anxiety, depression or other mental health problems, which I have anxiety, depression and an eating disorder. Probably something else, I'm not gonna lie. Another trigger would be important events, stressful situations, loss such as death of a loved one, which I had last year, and my dad's very ill now anyway, so it sounds bad, but we're kind of expecting the worst, which is where I have to keep my boundaries towards him, because otherwise I can go down real fast. Now, there are treatments for these. For me, I think I'm meant to be going into one of these, but we'll get to that in a second. So there's MBT, which combines group and individual therapy. It helps to is to help you understand yourself a bit better, and it helps others to be more aware of what's going on in your own head, in the minds of others, obviously. Then there's DBT, which I think I'm going into, I'm not too sure yet. This is a combination of cognitive and behavioural therapies with some techniques from Zen Buddhism. It involves individual therapy and group therapy and is helpful in BPD. Then there's also CBT, which is one of the really well-known ones, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, which helps change the unhelpful patterns of thinking. There's schema-focused therapy, a cognitive therapy that explores and changes collections of deep unhelpful beliefs. And there's transference-focused therapy, a structured treatment in which a therapist explores and changes unconscious processes. Apparently it's very effective. There's also CAT, which is cognitive analytical therapy, a way to recognise and change unhelpful patterns in relationships and behaviour. And the last one is treatment in therapeutic community. It's a place where people go for long-standing emotional problems. So for that one, you probably go to a place and then you'd stay there for a few weeks. If you've seen the movie like 28 with Sandra Bullock in, then it's similar to that, in a sense that you'd be around people for like a few weeks and then they work on you intensively. Now, I do want to get onto some statistics, however. Actually, let's just bog on about this one statistic. UK studies have found that in general population, 7 in every 1,000 people have BPD. However, just recently they have found that 1 in every 20 person can have a BPD. There is a possibility. Although it's not well known, it's also, obviously with the statistics, it's also quite well out there. People with BPD are often impulsive, like mentioned before, so that goes with sex, spending money, alcohol, drug abuse, etc., which is why they would often struggle with financial issues. And then there's the suicidal rate is up to 80%, I believe. So people with BPD often are very, very suicidal and have a more chance of committing successful suicide. I hate that word, successful suicide. Are you having a laugh? Successful suicide, because just because their thoughts are often very racy. Sorry, I'm going through it. But I need to get a new camera if you get me. So yeah. Self-harm is very, very common. Eating disorders are actually very common with people that have BPD. I know what we're on about. So I know this video is like super long and I blabbered on and basically read off my screen, but what you're gonna do, now you're educated. This was gonna seem like a very cheerful video, you know, from the title, Christmas with BPD. But you're gonna do it's the reality of things. The thing is with borderline personality disorder, it's not so much being cured, but it's more so it can be managed. And that's what I'm aiming to do. I'm aiming to get it managed. So for those of you who have been, you know, looking at the screen and be like, oh, you know, it's just a privileged girl, you know, she doesn't really know what problems are. Well, there you have it. It's not me trying to be like, well, this is what I got, so there you go. And I'm not self-diagnosed, although I have no problem with self-diagnosis. However, I do suggest that you go see your GP or, you know, get a referral or something if you feel like you may have any of these symptoms. And yeah, if you wish for me to do an actual video on my own experience with borderline personality disorder, although I've only actually known about it for about a month and a bit, like I said, you know, I can do that. Or if you have any other suggestions, I don't mind doing anything really apart from you know. So yeah, I know it's been a while since I've uploaded and I'm really blabbering on right now. It's like 15 minutes and I'm so sorry if you lasted this for long. Like, pat yourself on the back. But yeah, I am going to upload a lot more now because I do have a lot more free time because we're on half term and I'm buzzing. So yeah, okay, that's the end of it now. Alright, I'll see you soon, probably in a few days, and yeah, we'll talk later. I'm gonna leave now because this is way too long. Alright, love yourselves, take care of yourselves, and hug a tree. Live life. Bye.